Monday through Thursday, I was in the library. And then on Sundays, I was in the library. Like study. Like whatever it is, read formula books, look at problems, but study. That's the only thing that I can advocate.
Welcome to another video of Tea Time with Letitia on Gratified Grad, where it's my goal to help you graduate with gratification. Today's tea is called Jade Passion. I don't know if y'all can see that with that glare. You really can't, but I'll just tell it to you. It's Jade Passion, and it is a blend of passion fruit green tea with organic oolong. And it promotes weight loss as well as it's a natural energy booster. And this is another tea that I actually ordered from Quality, Qualitea, which is a Black-owned tea shop that is ran by another YouTuber. Her YouTube channel is called Just Chanel. This video is not sponsored, but I really just like her and her tea. So check her out, subscribe to her channel. And with that, I'm going to let today's guest introduce himself.
I'm Malcolm Jordan. I'm from Mobile, Alabama, and I graduated from Murphy High School. And currently, I am a civil engineer for a consulting firm in Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay, nice. I have talked to a couple of other civil engineers. I don't know if you remember well, I don't think Patrick is a civil engineer, but I talked to Patrick Johnson. He does engineering. And then there's Raymond Buchanan. He graduated from LaFleur in like 08 or something. But I think he actually does civil engineering in Atlanta. So I've been learning about civil engineers and what they do a little bit. But what do you do in your job?
So I work in CEI, which is Construction Engineering Inspection. So the company that I work for, we gain contracts through ALDOT, which is Alabama Department of Transportation. We take those contracts and we basically supervise the work that's getting done by contractors and make sure that it's within specifications of ALDOT.
Okay.
And, yeah.
I can understand that. That makes a lot of sense to me. Half the time, some of the stuff they be saying, I'm like, oh, okay. I don't really get what you're saying, but I can understand that.
Okay, cool.
So normally I would have people who are getting their master's or getting their PhD come on and talk. But after reading some books and really actually educating myself on the fact that you don't need to get a master's or a PhD in order to be successful, what are your thoughts on, or what has been your experience with just having a bachelor's degree in engineering?
Basically, in my experience, I only have a bachelor's degree. So I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Alabama, Roll Tide. That consists of civil engineering with a minor in transportation engineering. And with that degree, I have been able to sustain a job making over $50,000.
So you don't need to get a master's or a PhD in order to do well and make a lot of money or make good money in engineering.
Me personally, I like the idea of higher education, but in my field, I feel as if I had a master's in engineering, it would not change the circumstances of my salary. If I wanted to gain a higher salary, I would go the route of obtaining a FE, which is a test where you take a test and it's basically on all of the classes that we have taken throughout our tenure of college. And after you pass that test, you are a EIT, which is a engineering training. And so having those certifications gives you a higher salary versus having to go back to school, get more in debt to go obtain another salary. I feel like I would much rather go that route versus going back to school.
Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts about getting a higher education versus making sure that you're getting, you know, the requirements and the degree qualifications to make a living that satisfies you as a person?
Um, I probably get that question all the time, and people are basically like, "Do you like what you do?" And from my perspective, I like what I do. I can wake up every morning and go to work and be okay with doing this. But if it wasn't for the monetary aspects that it can provide for me, I probably wouldn't do it. And
Mm.
that's just my synopsis of it. Like I advocate to people, if you're going to go to school for something that is going to provide you the lifestyle that you want to live versus something that you love. Because in the end, that love would have to be more than what, you know, stuff that like material things that you want to gain. And I mean, that's just how I see it. If it wasn't for the money, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Mm. So I typically always advocate for the opposite, but
Right.
in this conversation, I do have a bit of understanding in what you're saying. So I'm in the process of starting my own business
Right.
and getting it going and getting, you know, income from this business. And I'm still going to have another job or something else that I do, at least until like my business can sustain me as could sustain me and my lifestyle. I
Right.
mean, I like my business is my passion. Like the goal of this business and the work of it is like what I love to do, but I also recognize that it will not maintain my lifestyle in its current state.
Right.
And so that it does resonate with me that, you know, when getting a job, you need to think about your lifestyle.
Of course.
So, you choosing to go into engineering, like, was that always your thought process from the beginning?
Um, to be honest, I'll be completely honest with you. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So, 11th grade, I'm going through the motions of going to school, and I'm a I'm the first person in my immediate family to get a college degree. So my mom has a high school diploma. My dad has an HVAC certification, of which he has his own business, Mitchell Heating and Air. And he also, you know, worked for the city of Mobile and different odd jobs and things of that nature. So if it wasn't for my big cousin TJ actually graduating from LaFleur and going to A&M and obtaining an electrical engineering degree, I probably wouldn't have done it. Like it was just basically being able to see a person that looks like me and is close to me get a degree like that and like, man, okay, well, maybe I can do it too. So I mean, I took the ACT, registered for different schools. I think A&M, ASU, Auburn, Alabama, and then I ended up receiving my letter for Bama, and they accepted me. And I mean, I started in electrical engineering, but I ended in civil, so uh, it worked out. I mean, I've always been good with numbers, but I really didn't know what I was getting myself into, and I'll be completely honest with you.
I definitely, that resonates with me too. When I was applying to schools, I, like my parents, they told me, you know, you need to go to college, you know, make sure you're doing
Right,
these applications. But I didn't know what I was doing. Like I applied to a bunch of schools and I think I got accepted to most of them, but ultimately, in my mind, like the determining factor for me was who was giving me the most money and
right,
would I enjoy the weather in the area. So I ended up
yeah,
going to Dillard, which is in New Orleans, Louisiana.
right,
And they gave me a good amount of money and it didn't snow. Like
right.
those were just the two things that I thought of going into undergrad. Honestly, I didn't even think about what I would do with my degree after undergrad or anything like that. So I definitely understand not really knowing what you're getting into, but just moving and doing something.
Yeah.
So that you're doing
Yeah.
something.
Right. And I guess that was like one of the points. It was different. I mean, of course, moving from Mobile to Tuscaloosa and, you know, waking up in the morning, going to classes and things of that nature. But I mean, I just adjusted to my environment and I stuck it out and I graduated. So, I mean, congrats to me.
No, yeah, really. And you went to a PWI, right? Like I
Oh,
went to
yeah.
an HBCU where I had everyone who looked like me
Yeah.
around me,
Yeah.
people with PhDs, people who understood and
Right.
cared about the
Right.
barriers that I was going up against. I sometimes wonder if I would have gone to a PWI, like how would that have gone? Like either I would have found someone to take me under my wing, or I I don't know what would have happened, honestly.
Yeah. It's I mean, I have friends that went to HBCUs, and me going to a PWI, that's the only experience I know. But it's different. It's different being in a classroom with a freshman classroom of an engineering class, such as statics, and it's 150 people in there, and maybe 10 people look like you, and the professor is a different race than you. He probably doesn't understand the dialect that you're speaking in, and it's almost you feel like you're being judged on a daily. And I can't say that I wouldn't go to a HBCU, but would I change it now? Probably not. But I've always advocated that I wanted a HBCU experience because I feel like it, and you know, in a sense, it kind of empowers you. Like we had so many great people go to HBCUs and graduate, and you know, be great at whatever they were doing. So I don't know. That's a hard subject to touch on.
I've gotten into a lot of conversations about it, even within the Black community at Penn State. So Penn State is a PWI.
Right.
And even within the undergrad community kind of thing where they talk about, am I Black enough because I didn't go to a HBCU?
I feel you.
And you know, having conversations like that, so it's a struggle all the way around for
Right.
all the spectrum. But what I can say from going to an HBCU versus going to a PWI is that I had to find my people coming to a PWI.
Yeah.
Versus being at a HBCU, you know, I had my boyfriend and I had my little couple friends here, but it wasn't as important for me to find my people.
Right.
Being at a PWI, I gotta have my group of people. I gotta have my circle of people.
Without a doubt. And I mean, I'm not saying, of course, starting off in any entry level engineering courses, you have more Black people than you would in the end game. So, of course, I had friends, but when it, you know, the tough gets going and you go to these higher level, 300 level courses, it dwindles off. And so you're left with, hey, I kind of have to branch out and see, you know, we got to go get in this group or this group, and nobody looks like you. Nobody talks like you. And it's odd. It's like you're the oddball every go around. I mean, I've had that experience my entire college career because, like, of course, you stick with people that you look like, and the professor say, "Hey, go get in groups," and everybody's gathering together, and I'm sitting there like, oh, "Okay, which one of y'all want me in your group?" Like, I mean, I've been there, but oh well. I mean, hey, like I said, that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah, that is tough. My cohort, and it doesn't even have to be large groups, right? Like my cohort was 15 people.
Oof.
And they had their study groups. I was the only Black woman in my cohort. And then there was one other Black guy. And then there was a student who was trying to get into grad school who was taking this course with me. And the other Black guy that was actually in my cohort, he was a little bit standoffish.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother conversation as to why he was that way. But I really came to resonate with the Black guy who was trying to get into the program. And so we ended up being study partners. But then even in that, like, it's still kind of just realizing that the level of studying that we did versus the level of studying that the other groups did was different.
Oh,
and so
entirely
like I
different.
had to be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna have to like hop in this study group and be in this study group because like we studying different.
Right.
But yeah, that the microaggressions, I don't know how well University of Alabama addressed racial disparities and racial issues.
That didn't start until I started in 2011, and I started to like see them send out newsletters about racial things of that nature. So like to begin, I'm trying to think of anything that was like drastic in 2011 to like 2014. Nothing jogs my memory, but I mean, I've had certain scenarios, you know, we walking on the strip, which is the street where the stadium and everything is, and you hear a racial slur, like somebody coming down the street, riding in a truck. And they've even had people on campus leave a noose wherever it was. And, you know, it's serious. And I mean, it was really like mind-boggling because I never experienced racism until I went to college.
Oh, not so. I had the same experience, and I thought I was crazy because, like, Mobile is in the South. Mobile is in the deep South.
Right. Facts.
But I never had like the serious racial issues, or well, so here at Penn State, they're a little more covert about it. They like to microaggress.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not really big on showing nooses, but they do a lot of microaggressions, and they say a lot of things that will probably like, it'll make you think and it'll make you question yourself. They gaslight you.
Okay.
But like I didn't have those experiences until I got to college.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Murphy and it was a diverse crowd, you know what I'm saying? And I never had anybody of a different race say anything out of line to me. But the day, not even the day, but the time that I go to college, it's just like racial slur. And then even with just professors, you can see how they interact with you different versus somebody else. And it's just like, whoa, you sit back and you're like, dang, I'm already here. Like, what else can I do? You know, I could potentially leave, but that's more money that I don't have. So you basically stuck to, you know, fight for yourself and fend.
I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because yeah, for a while I thought like, this, am I the only one experiencing this, or
you're not alone?
For students that are one of a few people that look like them, what is your greatest advice that you could share with them on how to make it through and actually get that degree?
Basically just persevere through it all. There's going to be hiccups. You not saying I don't want you to fail, but you're going to fail some tests. You're going to have your days where you don't feel like doing homework, but you just basically have to push yourself each and every day and look at the long haul. Like, just take it day by day and study. Like, that was one of my pet peeves that I didn't know how to do when I came into Bama. I didn't know how to study. Like, I went through high school just basically overlooking stuff, taking the test the next day. You can't do that in college, at least not in the engineering field. You have to look at these formulas on a daily. You have to work these problems on a daily. So my advice to a person that wants to obtain an engineering degree, like, you can do it. I mean, if they can do it, you can do it. Like, I'm a living example. Like, I mean, I graduated college with a 2.5 GPA, and I obtained a job making X amount of dollars. I'm living well. So study. Monday through Thursday, I was in the library. And then on Sundays, I was in the library. Like, study, study, study. Like, whatever it is, read formula books, look at problems, but study. That's the only thing that I can advocate to anybody trying to, like, gain an engineering degree, because it's not easy at all, but you will have to study.